What's good with it in the hood with it? Welcome back to the Collective Clips, where you already know, man, we get it in. Before we get to the content of the day, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content I'm kicking. And I highly appreciate all the love I'm getting, man. All the support. We're going up, man. That's facts. So a subscriber asked me the other day if I ever did time with the Southsider from San Jose. You know, and the answer is yes, absolutely. I've absolutely did a lot of time with a lot of Southsiders from LA, or excuse me, from San Jose. Definitely a lot from LA as well, right? Guard. But I could say this, man. One in particular stands out amongst the rest. And for the life of me, I can't remember this Vaulto's name, but I can remember his size. And I can remember an incident that took place while I was incarcerated as a youth in Fred C. Nellis that pretty much changed the trajectory of that compa, right? Of that building and what was happening. So in order to tell you the story about the San Jose situation, the way I like to put it, with Nortenos from San Jose and Southsider, this particular Southsider from San Jose, I have to take it back a little bit, you know. But I'll say this, you know, this story right here happened 30-something years ago. It's old, man. It's old news. But it's something that happened in my life, and I'll never forget the history of it. So we had just got moved to a compa, you know, we went from receiving the Nortenos I'm speaking on, and we got moved to one compa, and then we were getting moved to this program, which was a drug program facility, you know, a building. There was two of them in Nellis, Madison and Kennedy. And first they were going to break the Nortenos, and what they used to do is throw us from compa to compa, building to building, so that way we'd have our riots, we'd get all the fucking anguish and all the bullshit out of the way, and then eventually you could start programming and do what you had to do. So when we got to this particular compa, we knew it was going to pop off. We knew it was going to crack. We didn't know who was all there, but we knew definitely, man, it was going to happen, man. There was going to be a riot or a melee, just based on, that was the word on the curb. That's what everyone had been saying. It seemed like all the Southsiders were waiting for us to be moved to these certain compas just so they can get off. You know, we knew that. And they knew what time it was. We were not ill prepared, man. We came from the building we were at with pieces. We came with battery packs and we came secured, but they were ready. They were ready, man. And I can never take anything from them. They were going to do it the way they were going to do it. Now, I've talked to a few homeboys that were there with me, man, and we all had different perspectives of it. And I remember getting there and going to the day room. Then we went to chow, and everyone's kind of looking at each other. No one's talking. It's kind of just real quiet, man. You know, of course, you had the blacks that were talking to us and some of the white guys. There was a couple of them on that compa. But as far as the Southsiders and Northern interaction, there was none, right? It was zero. It was very quiet. We went to chow. When we got back from chow, we all sat in the back row. You know, we didn't want anyone behind us. And I remember seeing a lot of movement. And I remember that Vaultos were getting prepared. They were getting prepared to kick it off. So the ultimate plan was, I heard later on from a homie, was that we were going to go from this day room to outside yard. What these Southsiders were planning to do was take the cops hostage and lock the outside when we were out there and just slaughter us, right? There was about 50 Southerners on this yard and maybe 10 Northerners. That's all that there was. So it was going to be a battle, right? And their plan was to body everybody. It didn't work out that way. One guy got up. And if I remember correctly, he was from Primera Flats, and he got up to use to get water. There was a water machine there. You would get water, and when he got up to get water, he couldn't help himself, man. He had to look back and say something derogatory. We jumped up because we figured that was him kicking it off, and it just bam. I don't know who threw the first punch, but I can tell you punches were being thrown. People were getting battery packed, and chairs were getting moved and thrown everywhere. And that's how that kicked off. So they never got to facilitate the move that they were going to try to make, which was to take us outside and kill us all, right? So anyways, it kicks off. We get slammed back on our bunks after they come in, slam, mace everybody. And there was a couple of Northerners, a couple of homeboys that actually had swung on cops. One of the homeboys, Political from San Jose, actually hit a cop. They take him to TAF program or to the hole, you know, the box. And the rest of us are all slammed back on our bunks. Now, we're on a thing called the freeze, right? Which was 3 cheese sandwiches a day, and you're not moving. They restrict movement. There's cops there all day, every day. You're in your boxers, t-shirts, and chanclas, and the only movement is one by one going to the restroom, and it's very monitored, right? So we were going through a hardship. They slammed us down for about 3 weeks to a month, I remember, on this freeze, and everybody went through it. Not just North and South, the blacks, the whites. Didn't matter. If you were on that compa, you participated in that freeze, and it sucked. About day 4 or 5 of eating 3 cheese sandwiches and a milk a day, your stomach starts to bubble up. You can't go to the restroom. It's just bad. It was all bad. So it makes people rethink the situation. So, of course, they brought us out of that. And I remember there was a couple Southern spokesmen there, meaning that there was a couple vatos that were speaking for their gente. And we kind of had a couple homeboys that were speaking for us. And they brought everybody out in the day room, put all the chairs in the circle, and we kind of talked it out, what it was going to be. And when it came to a North-South issue, we let them know, hey, we're just trying to do our time, but we're going to stand our ground. And they let us know that they didn't want us there. And it kicked off again, right in the day room, man. And there was 4 of us there. I was one of the homeboys. There was 3 other, and there was about 6 or 7 Southsiders, a few blacks, a couple whites, and it kicked off again. It was a little skirmish melee. They slammed us. You guys are still on freeze. That's it. Eventually, about a month later, we decided that we talked again, and we decided we'd handle business in the bliñas. It would be all in the blinds, because everybody was tired of being on the freeze. So anyways, this is where the guy from San Jose comes into play. Now, being a Norteño in that era, man, San Jose was always the deepest when it came to Norteños. As far as the northern cars, San Jose always had the biggest presence. There was homeboys from the Mobsteros, homeboys from Horseshoe, Palmas, all these other little gangs from San Jose. San Jose just had a lot of respect, and they just had the deepest car, period. I remember there was one group of vatos from San Jose that they actually started in the CYA, which was called Hoods. You know, Vato Hoods, they were very deep, man. I used to kick it with a lot of the Hoodsteros, the Hoodsters. But yeah, there was just a lot of Norteños from San Jose. And there was a few Sureños from San Jose as well. You know, this was before the Upstater label happened. This was before all that. This is when it was very rare to see Southsiders down south in Southern California from up north. Very rare, you know. You would see a lot of vatos from Bakersfield, but that's still considered the sur. You know, that's about it. But every once in a while, you see a vato from San Jose. You see a vato from San Fran, Sacramento. It's the truth. It's facts. But we had a thing. And here was our thing. And this is real. We, being from certain cities, Merced, Fresno, Modesto, Tulare County, San Jose, didn't like the fact that we had Southerners in our city. Now, you would be thinking, okay, the homies should be handling the business on the streets, and then they wouldn't be able to plant their flags. But that wasn't the case. So when these vatos would get locked up, we didn't care if they were Southsiders and all that. That's cool. Do your thing, homie. If that's what you are, you are. But when you mentioned a city, or you said, like, if, you know, there was a time when I ran into a Sureño from Merced. He was from PPLs, Pocos Pero Locos. And he said, I'm from Merced. I had an issue. Okay, that's just how it was. I felt like he was disrespecting my city and everything I fought for. And he was going to represent the way he represented. And that was that. So anyways, this is before they became so numerous in numbers and deep that, I mean, there's no stopping it, right? So the homies from Sanjo, being the deepest and having the most influence, could not stand the fact that there were Southsiders from, you know, Sanjo there. And especially when they would say the word Sanjo or sharks, because these were words that were basically used by Norteños. You know, you met vatos from Sanjo, they said we're sharksteros or sanjoneros, or, you know, the word Sanjo was an abbreviation of San Jose, so that was their word, you know. So trip out. When this little melee, this riot happened, we come off lockdown, we finally come off the freeze, and we go to the yard. It was first day on the yard. Now, there was 4 homeboys from San Jose that were still there with us. And I remember we're functioning, we're doing our own little trip, our own little thing. And one of the homeboys was looking real agitated. And he was like, hey, I think that vato has Sanjo on his stomach. And it was a big old dude, man. And he was by the handball court. He was playing handball with a couple of the Southsiders, right? We had decided one side of the handball court would be theirs. One side of the handball court would be ours. We just figured all this shit out, you know, as time went on. And I kind of looked over and I said, no, I think that says Sanja. Sanja being, you know, San Jacinto, or, and then I even thought it was Sangra, right? Which is a water down south. So I was like, nah, that doesn't say Sanjo, bro. You're tripping, right? And no, he was in the distance, right? These yards weren't very big, but he was further enough away to not really see it. So I was like, you're tripping. So eventually the vato puts a shirt on, and the homeboy from San Jose is like, nah, bro, that shit says Sanjo. I'm for sure, right? And so I'm like, well, whatever the case, I don't know. So we're in the day room, we're kicking it. It's a couple days later, and this bigger dude, we hardly seen him, man. He had a job. He was older too. Like, we were all like, you know, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You're young in Ellis. He happened to be a vato. I don't know how he was still there, but he was like 20, 21. So he worked on the grounds crew in the facility, right? He had like a job. So you would hardly ever see him. You'd see him when we go to chow. Sometimes he went to the yard. Sometimes he didn't. This wasn't prison where yard was mandatory. Some vatos stood in the day room and watched TV. So it just seemed like we never hardly noticed this guy. But I mean, he was there. He wasn't hiding. I'll tell you that much. So the homeboy that had said, hey, he was like, hey, I'm going to hit that fool up. And we were like, well, you already know what comes with that, bro. If you hit him up, he's going to feel some type of way because you're speaking to him. Because we had come to an understanding, if you wanted to speak to the opposition or an enemy guy, which was a North and South issue, you could if you want. There was plenty of times I used to speak to Southerners. We used to chop it up, laugh, whatever, clown, tell jokes, facts. This really happened, right? Real life. But when you come at someone on a gang tip, hitting them up, people take that as disrespect. So I already knew it was going to pop, right? But this homeboy from San Jose had a little bit of juice, and he was like, nah, I'm not going to do it disrespectful, but it's just been on my mind, Holmes. I can't function on in a building with a vato, a sureño from Sanjo. It just ain't going to happen, right? And the other 3 guys from San Jose was with this program. So we were like, look, Holmes, if you guys are going to make it an issue, let's just crack it off. Fuck the bullshit, you know? If he says he's from San Jose, crack it off right there and we'll just get it. And the homie's like, nah, it ain't that serious. Don't trip. We're going to do our thing. This is a San Jose thing. And that's what I noticed about homeboys from Sanjo. It was a Sanjo thing with them. You know, and a lot of the vatos put Sanjo before Norte. Facts. You know, with me, I was a Norteño from Merced. We had homeboys from Modesto that were Norteños. And that was first and foremost for us, being from the Norte. But with the homeboys from San Jose, not all of them, but a majority of them, a lot of them, Sanjo, their city, their pride in their city came first before anything, right? So they were like, nah, it's a Sanjo thing. We're not even tripping like that. Don't let us do this. All right, cool. So he goes to the day room. I remember that day. And they're chopping it up for a long time. So there's long rows in this day room. And then there was a side row. We ended up gravitating towards that side row so you could see everything. That's just where our chairs were, you know. The Southsider sat in the back 3 rows. And then you had the blacks in the middle. And then the whites would be with some Southerners and some whites in the very front row. And that's just how that was. Why? I don't know, man. That's just the way that particular compa liked it. So we had this whole side row with like about 10 chairs, and that's where we were. And it was cool because you could see everything, but it was kind of front street, man. Everyone could see what you're doing. And that sucked, but whatever. You couldn't see the TVs too good. Look, man, I'm going to be honest with you and real. We were given those chairs, of course, as a way of fucking, hey, get what you get. You know, eventually we fought our way into them fucking rows to that back row, but it took a while. I'm not fucking lying about nothing or sugarcoat nothing. You know, it was a struggle of being a Norteño. When you got minimal numbers and there's not a lot of you, well, guess what's going to happen? You ain't got a lot coming, right? So this is how it really, really was, man. So we're on the side, and what had happened was we had all went down to the day room. There was a few people, or down to the beds, and him and the homeboy were talking in the side row, and I was tripping because it was a Southerner actually sitting in our chairs. But it is what it is. They were conversating, and it looked pretty respectful. You know, they're just going back and forth or whatever. So the homie comes back. He's like, hey, I'm going to see that fool in his cell. That fool is from San Jose, man. And I was like, oh, shit, right? Now, the other homies from San Jose was like, fuck that. We can't be on the compa with them. He's like, no. Hey, we're just going to handle our business in the cell, and that's going to be that, homes. And so the other homies were like, okay, cool. So this vato from San Jose, he already was in a cell. So this is the way it was. There was a dorm, there was a tall wall and a short wall, right? The tall wall was all double bunked. The short wall was all single bunks all the way up to about the break in the wall. There was a break in the wall, and then everything back from that was double bunks. So that's the way it was. Now, there was a little short wall. It was a concrete wall that ran through the middle of the compa. At the end of that building was a door to the outside. Our compa was across the street from Madison. So we never went outside of that back door, because that back door went straight into a field that went to Nixon and Carter, which were a lockdown facility and a PC, not a PC, but where they had all the fucking sex offenders and weirdos on Carter, right? Then there was our building. So on the side of that short wall, there was a little long hallway. There was, I believe, 11 cells. And it was very hard to get in the cells. I got in the cells one time besides going in them motherfuckers to fight, right? And I remember Snoop from A. Trey Hoover was my cellie. That was a good homie right there. But it took us a while to get in those cells. But people that had juice, good job, been there a while, they had themselves. So anyways, the whole plan was for this vato from Sanjo to go down, break his cell down, meaning move the furniture and shit out of the way so that they can handle their business. Nobody wanted to get caught. This guy didn't want to lose his good job and go to the hole. The homie was like, I'm just trying to handle my business professionally. So we were going to wait till they were doing yard release, till they were taking us out to the day room to go to the yard. It was loud. People were moving around. They'd open all the doors, you know, unkey all the doors and walk back. When they did, the homeboy was going to go through the break, run into the cell. They were like cell 8 or 9, handle his business. So they do that. Boom, 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 boom. Well, this dude is a big dude from San Jose, the Sureño, right? He fucks the homie up pretty bad, right? Homeboy comes out leaking, lifts all fucked up, and the homies from San Jose ain't feeling that. They're like, nah, fuck that, homies. Fuck that. So they run up in the cell and jump this cat. They jumped this cat. This guy, Sally, had left because he thought it was going to be a one-on-one and make room. And a couple of these Sureños see this shit, right? So a little skirmish pops off right there. I remember I was already in the day room. A little skirmish pops off, alarm goes off. Everyone doesn't know what's happening that's in the day room, so we kind of hit the, you know, the floor like, what the fuck? And boom, they handcuff people. As we're seeing this Sureño come out, handcuffed, he's all jumped on, and a couple other cats. Then we see the homies from San Jose. And the Southsider, his name was Grumpy from 18, he looks over and he's like, hey, homie, you guys ain't right. It was supposed to be one-on-one. And I was like, what's happening? I don't know, guard. I don't know. So he's like, we'll get at you about this later. All right, cool. And so we have a little junta outside. We go to the yard because this is one thing about, it wasn't a freeze issue. It was just a little melee. Here's one thing about CYA. They don't just slam you down all day. You know, I mean, if it was a big riot, you get put on freeze. I think they did that just to scare us into fucking coexisting that time. But fights happen and it's fucking resume yard. Back to regular program. Take them to the box, whatever, right? So when we go out there, we talk to these vatos. They're like, hey, no one from San Jose is going to be allowed to function on this yard if they can't have Sureños from San Jose because them vatos are cool, whatever, right? And we're like, hey, that's, most of the homies are from San Jose. I'm not, but most of them are, right? So it's just is going to be what it is. And that's it. So anyways, there was another Southsider. That happened. The vato gets moved to Nixon, the one that got jumped on from Sanjo, and the homeboys, they go to a TAF program. A couple of them come back, not to our building. They end up going to Cleveland, but a couple of them come out, right? So it's about a year later, and I hadn't really seen anyone from San Jose. There's a fucking, you would come through a metal detectors to go to the school area. There'd be like a big quad area, some classes up there, and then there was a bin that you had to walk around. Anyone that's been in Nellis, they know what it is. The school area was pretty dangerous, man, because that's where a lot of people popped off. That's where you see people from other compas handling their business, facts. So anyways, I remember coming through, it's me and the homeboy Spokio, and I'm waiting for the homeboy Chucky from San Jose and another couple homeboys so we could walk together to our classes because, man, it popped off around the bend all the time. You know, it's pretty much, it was at a point, you know, by the time we'd been there that it didn't crack off with us as much as it used to, but in the beginning, man, it was an everyday thing. So anyways, we would still secure ourselves, walk around. We have a little piece on us just in case. We were young kids though, you know, so no one was really getting murdered or nothing. It was more so just fucking, if you had one, you know, you can get off. So as we're walking, there's a large group of Southerners that are walking in front of us. And one of them has a big old shark on his neck. Now there's a barrio down there in Pomona called the Pomona 12th Street Sharkies that have sharks all over them. And I remember they were pretty thick. So I automatically assumed he was a Pomona 12th Street Sharky, right? No big deal. They were everywhere. We had a couple of them on our compa. Negro from Pomona was on our compa. So was, it was Negro, and I think it was Speedy, or no, it was Johnny Boy, Speedy, and Negro. They were on our compa. So I see this vato. I'd never seen him before. He must be on a different compa. He has a big old shark on his neck, a big old shark, right? I was like, okay, right? And next thing you know, he turns around. He sees it. He turns around and he's like, hey, where are you from? And one of the homeboys from San Jose is like, Sanjo, Norte, what's up? He's like, Sanjo, Sureño. Boom! Riot, right? We start getting off little melee. So to answer the homeboy's question, you know, we ended up going to the hole, whatever. Have I ever done time with the vatos from Sanjo? I have. And they're about the business, bro. Just like the Nortenos from Sanjo that have been around for a long time, the Southsiders have had a presence in San Jose for a very long time as well. And they're with the shits, okay? They're with the activities. You know, I know back in the days, man, they weren't talked about as much because their presence wasn't as thick as they are. But nowadays, man, I'm going to be honest with you, you go into the city of San Jose, and I was there a while back, man. You see a lot of Sureño influence. They're there, man. Now, there's always going to be the majority Norteños, and that doesn't mean Norteños are not handling their business when they see each other. You know, that's their thing, whatever they got going on, their activities. But for the guys that have every the time, yeah. And all I can say, man, to be totally honest with you, is they're with the activities. They're very accepted into that car. So with that being said, All true stories, all facts. The shit goes down, man. San Jose, like I said, is very respected. I have nothing but respect and love. I got a lot of homeboys from San Jose. And that was kind of like our Mecca. Salas and San Jose, San Fran even, was like our, you know, there was more Nortenos there than anywhere else. And I always looked at the homeboys from San Jose. I looked up to them, you know, in them times when I was a young kid, because they were all laced up. They were seasoned. You know, whereas I was young and barely learning the ropes on the Norteño movement, these guys already knew what it was. That's just how their city is. They're very generational in their hoods and all that. It's kind of like a East LA area. You know, San Jose's like that. It's got a lot of tradition, a lot of Chicano tradition. So anyways, with that being said, I hope that you move with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive to struggle, the struggle to strive. We're going to continue right here on the Collective Clips to speak on, you know, what we want to speak on and do what we do, man. I'm not trying to shine a light on the gangbang business. It was what it was back in the days. I'm just trying to tell you a little bit about my story and answer the questions that people ask in the most righteous and respectful fashions that I can for everybody involved. You know what it is. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle for what I believe in. And that's bringing you the best entertainment I can right here on the Collective Clips, as well as Gunners Collective TV. Make sure you tap in. I'm dropping bangers over there, reactions left and right and left. And we're going to continue to do what we does, because bang, bang, the gun.